So how do people come to think about, oh, I might have autism? Well, there's many different pathways to that self-understanding. One of the most common is we find for adults that they have a family member diagnosed with autism. It could be a son or a daughter, it could be a niece, a nephew. And suddenly, as they're completing the forms, they're recognizing, but this is me. I had this when I was a child. I can relate to everything on this checklist. And they suddenly realize, oh, maybe this profile that has now just been diagnosed is also my profile.
If you're an adult looking to get your own autism diagnosis, you start with your GP. This is what you usually do. And that GP's role is, first of all, to take you seriously and to listen to what your needs and desires are. Some people will want a diagnosis, some people won't. That's fine. And some people will find that diagnosis to be an explanation of how they might perceive themselves to be different.
I would encourage you to find a diagnostician, a person who knows about autism in adults. A first good step can be your GP. So you may have a discussion with your GP about whether they know of someone. Another good step can be to go to the referral list of the Australian Psychological Society, the APS. And we know when we, as a psychologist, when we complete the form so that we're on that list, we will tick the box to say we are diagnosticians in autism. And so you will be able to find out who, as a psychologist, can do the diagnostic assessment and knows what to look for.
When you're in the process of getting on a diagnosis and getting on a wait list, because quite often there is quite a substantial wait list, and this could be anywhere up to 6, 8, 12 months, depending on how you want to take that pathway, if you want to go private or if you want to go through the public system. While you're going through that process, and as soon as you feel that you needed to explore and go down that pathway of a diagnosis, start doing a lot of research on yourself. Start documenting as far back as possible about yourself from when you're a young child. Write down as many memories about what you think resonates with being autistic. Also talk to friends and family about this, because they can also give you an outside view about how you were as you were growing up, because these younger years will be very instrumental in gaining a diagnosis as well. And it also helps the clinician get a much bigger picture of what support needs you may need as well, because it's not just a case of getting a diagnosis, it's a case of actually understanding yourself as well through this process.
Adults who are pursuing a diagnosis and they go to a GP and they get pushback, the GP says, don't worry, that you don't need to get this looked at, whatever, and they don't want to refer you on. I think it's quite reasonable to say, no, I want it. If you do want it, you should have that opportunity. And not every GP knows that much about autism. It's GPs have got to know everything about everything, unfortunately. If their knowledge is a bit limited, particularly with adult autism, which can be quite tricky to pin down, I think it's quite reasonable to say, no, I want to get this looked at, to see whether I am on the autism spectrum or not. If you want that, that's fine.
It's a question of, where do I go next for that? How do I find out more? And so what I would suggest here is to look at some of the questionnaires available for what we call a screener for autism. One of the best websites is actually Cambridge University's Autism Research Centre. They have a test library, if you like. You can actually go there and download a fantastic screening questionnaire. We use it in the clinic, called the Autism Spectrum Quotient, or Autism Quotient, the AQ. They have an adult version and also one a partner or a good friend can also complete. And then there can be a sense of, oh, it's worth going further if quite a few of those items were endorsed.
If that explanation of I've got this different way of thinking, not less, not defective, without that explanation, a lot of people have come to their own conclusions that they're defective in some way, that they just need to avoid others, and occasionally that other people are defective as well. And so there's this issue with maybe having experienced trauma or bullying that people are dangerous basically, and just got to burrow down and avoid others. And so that can impact the opportunities available.
You may have sensory issues which you've never realised all your life. You're going for a diagnosis, say at 40, and realise why you can't cope at work, you can't cope under bright lights and lots of noises. So all of these different things will pop up, and then you can tell the diagnostician, these are the things that I'm not coping with in that sort of perspective. So there can be lots and lots of detail about yourself. It will be absolutely critical in doing that. So spend that time and do it well. And you don't even have to write it down. You can talk to your phone as well, and so you can document everything as well to make it easy for yourself.
So if someone was considering whether or not to pursue a diagnosis, first off, I would consider this label or this categorization essentially, because diagnoses are categorizing someone, and that can be a little reductionistic about that individual. So it's important to, I think, also just realize that a diagnosis or a label can explain a little bit about how you do the things you do, some of the strengths or some of the challenges you have. Everyone's different. Everyone's going to be an individual. You're the same person when you walk into this clinic as you are when you leave this clinic, even if you've had a diagnosis. It can be emotionally overwhelming because there's questionnaires to fill in. You know, some clinics will be happy if you like to write your story down rather than talk through it. That might be easier for you to process in the moment. So hopefully the clinic can work with you and accommodate some of those challenges that you might be having.
In order to be able to claim some of those sessions, either through psychiatry or psychology, you will need a GP referral, and usually at least 1 hour of that time in diagnostic assessment, it's usually about 2 hours, but at least 1 hour should be covered by Medicare if you use a better access mental health care plan. So the first step would be go and see your GP, work out a better access mental health care plan, and this is particularly around your mental health, which is going to be supported by understanding if you are on the autism spectrum. And then use that to see a psychologist or psychiatrist who knows about autism in adults.
It is a path to understanding yourself better. And some people call it a discovery rather than a diagnosis, I should say, because it's discovering who you are and why you might do the things you do. If it's a good assessment, it's not just about the label, it's about what are the challenges that you're having in life? Why aren't you getting to where you want to be? And an explanation of what to work on, what things to improve to help you progress to where you want to be. So it's not only about the diagnosis. That is just going to leave you more kind of confused and like, well, where do I go now? You want to have recommendations and a plan of what skills you need to work on and what supports. And as an adult, oftentimes you may not have the supports that you would have had as a child getting that diagnosis, where really the parents are taking the lead in organising, triaging, case managing. So you may need to get support with a case manager, depending on the particular situation. Someone that's going to be able to make those phone calls to people, because even that in and of itself could just be a daunting task. So setting yourself up with, even NDIS, that experience can be very daunting, very tricky. Getting a plan for how to get those supports in place is really important.